Think you need to be a genius to start a successful business? Well, think again. Because my school told me I would never amount to anything without a degree, and with my consistently below average grades and dyslexia, I believed it. But here's the twist. Being dumb actually enabled me to go from zero to making $50,000 to $150,000 a week every week, and I did this by helping hundreds of YouTube creators generate tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of views. So today I'm going to show you the top 5 business secrets I discovered that can make anyone successful no matter your IQ. See, I told you I was stupid. And I'm going to show you why starting a YouTube channel will be a total game changer if you combine it with what I'm about to show you. So let's start with the bad news. This can take ages. My journey to success took 16 years before things started really moving. But why did it take so long? Why would you listen to some loser who failed for so long? Well, let me show you what happened and why my misery is actually going to be your gain here. So back in 2004, I left school and I started a lawn care business with no experience at all, which I know, it's weird, right? Surprisingly though, it actually took off. And I bought my first home at 23, but then a decade later, I sold that because I started to hate it and I started a new one from scratch. I didn't sell this thing for millions, it just gave me enough to get by for a few years. Which brings us on to a stage in my life I call the stupid years. Because after getting off to actually a pretty good start, I then turned my back on everything I learned that actually worked, and every month was a game of survival, which is really weird, right? Because you would think you would keep improving, but I went the other way. I told you I was dumb. This isn't me saying this, it's fact. And that brings us on to here, the epiphany years, where I quit that business and once again started for zero for the 3rd time. But this time I applied the lessons I learned in the first 2 weeks of my entire career, and the results, my business went from generating zero to $50,000 to $150,000 weekly. So that's why it took so long. But why is that your gain? Well, because if you understand everything I did wrong, you can avoid it, you can apply it, and you can get to the promised land much faster. So let me share the first secret that is going to help you do just that. This is a good one. They're all good. I wouldn't have put them in if they weren't. So have you ever thought about starting a business, but the fear of your idea not working and all that time and money that you might put into it potentially going to waste has stopped you from taking any action? Well, here's the secret. In 1931, this broke 5-year-old boy started selling matches to his neighbors, which is a pretty crap idea, right? But then he started selling fish to them too, which is an even worse idea. Guy was dumber than me. As time progressed, he started selling seeds and Christmas decorations. And by the time he was 17, the complete moron had founded IKEA. Ingvar Kamprad went from desperate match-selling boy to billionaire because of this secret. Sarah Blakely used to sell fax machines door to door. She ended up founding Spanx. This is also worth billions. And then we have Russell Brunson, who went from selling a DVD about how to make a potato gun to founding a giant software company called ClickFunnels. So the first secret is this: you will never start a perfect business from day one. So don't even bother trying, because it's very unlikely that you end up doing your original idea 10 years down the line, because the big results are not in creating the perfect plan, but they're in our actions. As you try things out and learn, you're going to start to see so much clearer what does and then what doesn't work, and then you simply just do more of the thing that works, so long as you like it. If you don't start because you're too busy planning, it's just not possible to do that. So if you've been overthinking this is your sign. Just do the thing now. Go on, do it. I'll wait. No, actually, don't go and do it. Let's watch the rest of the video first, because we've got 4 more things you need to hear. The thing is, how do you know what actions to take on this journey to make you more money? And what if you don't have any kind of skill that you can actually turn into a business? Well, that brings us on to secrets 2 and 3, because as you're about to find out, you don't actually need any skill. I had none. But let's start with secret number 2. So have you ever worried you lacked the experience or skills to start a business? Well, let me prove why that shouldn't stop you. So I started 3 businesses in totally different fields where I had little to no experience or skill, and I still made millions. But here's how it worked. When I was 18, I had a 2-week training course to teach me how to treat lawns and run a business. After I completed it, I remember 5 of the competition's vans driving past me every morning, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I ever going to compete with that? 5 years later, they were out of business and I had taken many of their clients. Stay professional, Ed, stay professional. But how? Well, I obsessed over something they neglected, because it turns out they had skill, but they didn't have my secret weapon. I always arrived on time. The other company didn't give a time. They just turned up, which annoyed people. My dad taught me to always remember the dog's name. So when you arrived, the door opened, the dog would run out, you would say it, and the client would be like, wow, I can't believe you remember the dog's name. I'd rake up the leaves in the autumn. The other company would just say, call us when you've done it. But one of the highest leverage things I ever did was when a rich client on the most expensive street, full of my ideal clients, told me his watering system broke. He was leaving for vacation renovation and he was really worried that his vegetable garden would die because we had a heat wave. So I robbed his house. No, I'm kidding. For legal reasons, the robbery had nothing to do with me. I just said, I'll pop over every day to water it for you so they don't. This was like such a small thing for me to do because I drove past his house every day. As a result, we ended up landing a massive percentage of his entire street full of our perfect clients, and I ate his delicious strawberries. But don't tell him. He thought I was the slugs. So here's the secret. I knew how to build relationships. Really, that is all I knew. But it's what people really value. So if you're low on skills, you don't need to spend years reading books trying to make up for it. You learn fastest on the job. So all you need to do is overcompensate by excelling at service, basically doing extra things your clients didn't pay for and just taking an interest in them. By doing that, you instantly stick out more than 99% of people because they just won't do that. And as long as you deliver on what they paid for too, you will win. But once you've decided to dive into something new and upserve them, as I call it, how do you know what actions to take to make more money? Well, this brings us on to secret number 3, and screwing this up held me back 5 or 6 years, even though I had an amazing business idea. So in my second business, I partnered with someone else and I tried to solve a really big problem. At that time, businesses were being told that they really needed to use video in their marketing. It was critical, but the average one cost $10,000 and small businesses, they just couldn't afford it. So we came up with this idea where we charged £100 to £300 a month for unlimited video shot in our studio. Clients would basically book in an hour whenever they liked, and then we'd help with their scripts, we would teach them to present, we would film, and we would edit all of this at that price point, which sounds amazing, right? But why was every month a game of survival? Well, this is where things really confused us, and you need to be careful too, because everyone around us, including our business coach, praise this idea. They kept saying, it's amazing, this is going to blow up, this is the future. But even with everyone we knew saying that, selling the service was harder than a toffee in a freezer. But naturally, with all of this praise around us, we just kept trying to push it because surely everyone couldn't be wrong. Well, that's the thing, everyone can be wrong, especially if they don't actually know what they're talking about. So how do you know how to make money? Well, here's the secret. Just find one person who's achieved what you want for a while and then follow their advice. Just ignore everyone else. This person ideally has a lot of experience. So for me, at one stage of my career, I just listened to what my dad told me to do because he'd been a master of sales for 20 odd years. And then later on in my life, I just did what my most successful friends told me to do and ignored everything else. Their advice 4x'd my baseline monthly income in a year. Trying to figure this out alone is going to add decades to your results. But also, listening to people who have not hit the level you want to hit means you get bad advice, conflicting advice, and that can lead to confusion and mistakes. But not only that, if you have too many sources of information, you try to action too many things at once that maybe don't complement each other. And your marketing and your business systems become really complex and confusing, and then that splits your focus. It makes it really hard to measure what's going on. And I see this as a big problem with my clients all the time. If you just stick to one credible person system, it's way easier and you get results. And all of the successful people I know seem to do this. When I realized it, it was a game changer. It was way easier too. But what if you don't have anyone's advice to follow right now? What do you do? Well, let me give you one of the simplest business secrets of all time. That's a neon sign pointing you at the direction you should go in to grow a business. Naturally, I missed it for years. So here's how it worked. Back in the days of selling this amazing video service that nobody wanted to buy, I'd wake up on the first every month and we would need to make £20,000 in 30 days, but we'd be starting from very close to zero. For I would just call anyone who had inquired in the last year and spend hours a day getting rejected on the phone. Then unexpectedly, someone called up and they asked us to go and film a client testimonial. Naturally, I tried to sell them the amazing video service that nobody wanted, and they just said, look, I'm not interested in that. I just want someone to go and film my client saying what a great job we did. Now, we needed the cash, so I just said, yeah, all right, and pulled out a random price of £1,500 from the air. And they said, yeah, sure. So a few days later, I went and shot the video, got home to edit it, and was like, oh my gosh, this is the most boring video I have ever seen. Nobody will watch this. So I got a little bit creative, started adding music, text, and started trying to turn it into a bit of a story. I sent it to the client, and they loved it, and they immediately ordered 15 more. 22,000 pounds of business, my entire month's target. I then put these story-style testimonials on our website, and people just kept buying them, even though all we kept trying to sell was this cheap product. I even said to my business partner at one point, isn't it crazy? The thing we least want to sell flies off the shelf, but the thing we really want to is a nightmare. You can probably guess the lesson now, right? If you have 3 products, one sells like hotcakes, while the other 2 don't, just focus on the successful one. That is your big neon sign for success. less. You'll make more in sales, you'll carve out a niche, and when your client only has one option to buy, it's a much easier purchasing process with less decisions. You also get really good at selling it, marketing it, and providing the service when it's all you do. And then that's easier to optimize it for efficiencies. In fact, to show you how powerful repetition and focus is, the first testimonial video that I sold to that client in that style that everyone wanted to buy took me 16 hours to edit. But over the coming months, I created a system and I refined the process down, and I got the editing time per video down to 3 hours. And we put the price up a lot because so many people wanted to buy it. So we were getting paid way more for something that took us way less time, and then we could teach other people that system. In fact, Greg, who's editing this right now, he used to do this for us, and I think he might have even edited them faster than me. All we needed to do was stop selling the thing that didn't fly off the shelf because it was getting in the way. In the online space, I see people make this mistake all of the time. People have a crazy amount of offers and options and lead magnets, and it's hurting you because it's confusing. Which brings us on to secret number 5, and this is the key that made my first business successful immediately, and then my current one explode, but held back the video service really badly. And it was all down to this. Our amazing unlimited video production didn't work because the people who signed up wanted cheap video because they couldn't afford anything else. What that meant was they couldn't afford a good website or people to help them with social media marketing or SEO, but also they had no time to come in and actually use the service because the cheap price attracted people that were struggling to make money. So most of their day was spent hustling, delivering the service, or desperately trying to sign people up, which meant 2 things. The first was they just didn't use what we made them at all, and the second was they didn't come in. So our $150 to $300 service became expensive because nobody got any return. So what's the solution? Well, it's this. Put your leaflets in the biggest house's doors. That is what I was told in the very first 2 weeks of my entire career to grow the lawn business. And I applied it many years later, and it's generating millions. Basically, just target people who actually have money to spend because of these following reasons. Firstly, people who have money just want their life to be made as easy as possible so they can focus on other things that make them more money or just bring them more enjoyment. So paying extra to get that is really highly valued. Secondly, in many cases, businesses provide solutions that require the client to do something that might impact the results that you can actually get them. In the lawn business, they needed to mow and water. The people with cash did this because they hired gardeners to do the work for them, and they didn't care about an expensive water bill in the summer, which meant what I could do actually worked. The other guys didn't do it. And in the video business, the guys with cash had a marketing team to push out their content, so they got views and again results, which meant their more expensive videos felt way cheaper. And often being cheap is counterproductive because you work for people who might not be capable of getting a result. So although it feels like you're trying to help those who need it the most, you can end up doing them a complete disservice. Thirdly, the people who spend more money are just 10 times easier to work with. If someone can drop 10 grand on something, there's a chance they have a lot of money, so even if they lost every penny of it, they'd be fine. But the guys who struggle to afford $150, this is the opposite. That purchase potentially has massive stakes for them. What this means is, and I'll still never get over this, it's just so true, is that people who spend more money tend to have a much lower expectation than the guys who spend less. It's mad, but they make better clients, they take up less of your time, and you can get them better results too. And then finally, people with money usually associate with other people with money, and if you impress them, they refer them to their friends who can afford you. So you just grow organically with your perfect clients handing you more perfect clients on a plate. Pretty much anyone who's been in business long enough will come to this same conclusion, but it does raise one really big problem. What if you want to help those guys who don't have as much money? Do we just say, screw them, I'm getting rich? Well, no, we do not do that. We give them everything for free. So this explosion in my income happened because of everything that I've just showed you, but mainly because I spent years giving free high quality content on my old YouTube channel Film Booth and in my weekly emails and now on this channel here. I looked after the guys who didn't have the cash with the best info I possibly could give them, and then pitched my offer at those that did. Millions of people got to learn how to grow YouTube channels and businesses for free, and that then grew my own personal brand incredibly fast, and then allowed me to build products that worked because they used these 5 secrets, and it's helped generate over $1.1 million in the last 4 months alone. So no matter how dumb you are, because I'm really not a naturally smart guy or switched on at all, stick to these 5 secrets, combine them with making free videos, and it is the ultimate combo, which hopefully won't take you 19 years. The thing is, surely that can't be the only things that cause an explosion in my income. Well, no, it's not. This video here will show you what another one of the main catalysts was and how you can use it yourself to get an insane result.